And we're live.
But I want to talk about Walking Dead. So I rewatched all 10 seasons with Colin. We finished it. Season 11, which is the last one, is either just aired or is going to air this weekend. I think the first episode's out. And all I know is they interact with another civilization that has 50,000 people in it. So every time they interact with another civilization, they're a little bit more behind the 8 ball. Like there's a part where Rick and crew are the baddest motherfuckers in the known universe. And then, like the governor is a little tougher match. And then Negan, they're severely outmatched and they need to bring in more people. And then with the Whisperers, they're even more severely outmatched. These people have a nuclear bomb worth of walkers that, I'll make up a number like 250,000 walkers they can launch at the thing. And now 50,000 humans.
Sorry, Whisperers are people that can control walkers?
They Whisperers dressed up as walkers, and they had masks on, and then they would guide the herds and use them as their weapons. And so they had to deal with
I stopped watching Walking Dead, but I used to read the books a lot, and I loved them. I read up until like around Glenn. So then I watched up until around Glenn. But that I didn't get this far, and like on paper, what you just described sounds very interesting to me,
dude.
I'm gonna watch a 3.5 hour YouTube video on it.
Walking Dead turns the corner and gets better again. Like it kind of peaked when they met Negan, and then it kind of sank when they fought him, and it just dragged out the whole we're having a struggle way too long for like an entire year of 22 episodes or something crazy like that. But it's come around again, and Walking Dead is actually one of the better shows that's ever been on TV. It's there. Like there aren't too many. Like Sopranos is better, The Wire is better, but Walking Dead is just right past those. And you watch it again, and especially with the good pacing you can get by watching a few a day, it's good. And there's a spinoff coming after this where Daryl, the other crossbow guy, and Carol, the meek woman who turns into kind of a badass, just go off on their own and wander. And it's about the two of them in their
Wandering Dead. Sorry, continue.
So anyway, I'm psyched for the next Walking Dead to come out, and I think there's an episode out there. Colin,
I guess I'll watch 10 seasons of this fucking show. I guess I will.
They lost me. I'm never going back.
I'm off it too. No.
And they lost you when they were fighting Negan, right? The show.
It was awful. I mean, it was getting there, but like, and a lot of things happened right after they met Negan. For one thing, the network responded to the backlash over how violent the episode with Glenn was, and they toned the violence down significantly. But then, like right after that, it's like, look, you have to strike this balance between having plot armor and having mainstay characters. Like there's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Picard gets assimilated by the Borg. I think it's the end of season 3.
Yeah, it's the end.
It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
it's a cliffhanger. All right, you literally end season 3, I think, of Star Trek, and Picard seems to be gone. And
it is a very serious. You're like, what the fuck? That's the end.
And I'm sure a lot of fans thought that Riker's the captain now because they've pretty much written Picard off, and it seems like all hope is lost because like he's essentially dead. And but then you come back and he's back. So like Picard's got some plot armor. Say what you will about that, but like I think the show is better with Picard in it. When they lost Rick, when they lost Carl, like it makes so many of the earlier episodes worthless. It's like, why did I care about Rick and Carl's journey?
I disagree. I love why did I care? Plot armor. Game of Thrones is bitch made, right? When Jon Snow dodges 1 trillion arrows that
you hated that. I rewatched the show. I rewatched it, and I was with my girlfriend. I was like, oh, that podcast PKA. I'm like, Woody hates that episode because it ended, and she was like, whoa, he lived. I was like, yeah, he didn't like that. Battle of the Bastards.
One of the best episodes of anything that's ever aired on television.
Dude, it is
look at the IMDb ratings. Look.
I rewatched. The only reason why
TV ratings. Was excited about the show at the time, but now that you know that he can't die, it's just fucking ruined. And
I got a better question. I rewatched it. Why did he come back?
Oh, why was he killed and come back?
Why did he come back? I literally rewatched the whole. I don't know why I watched Game of Thrones again. I hated how it ended. Hated it. I did like Battle of the Bastards though. If Jon Snow died, then I would have been like, "What the fuck?" But I loved Game of Thrones. It's the last 2 seasons. I've never seen someone dismantle something I cared about so much so quickly. I thought it was so bad, and even watching it again the second time, I'm like, "Oh my god!" And it's hard, faster and faster and faster. The last 2 episodes are the absolute fucking worst.
I love that dumb. Rick is off the show. Now, he's not dead. I think they're making a movie with him. And he's funny. He's like, it was a big mistake to leave the show. I wanted to spend more time with my family, and now my family's tired of me. This is in an interview. He said that. No, go ahead.
I saw him once at a coffee shop in Athens. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. I just think it's really neat that nobody's safe. Rick isn't safe. Carl's not safe. You know, like I happen to know Daryl and Carol are safe because they're doing a spinoff. But aside from that, anyone could die. You know, Maggie was gone for like a whole year. I don't know what it was, contract negotiations or just the way they wrote her out. But like people go. Michonne could die. Andrea died. Andrea's alive in the comics. Like if people watch Walking Dead, Rick and Michonne become like kind of married and, you know, live together, whatever. That's Andrea's role in the comic book.
Yeah. I think I understand you feel that way and I understand why you feel that way, but I wonder if you're results oriented here or if you appreciate the show for what it would be if they had their way as showmakers, because the reason so many characters die is because Robert Kirkman got fucked in the ass by A&E, and all of those actors and actresses like Andrea, like that older bald gentleman who was always good at fixing the van, you know, or the motorhome or whatever early on, like all of those early Glenn, those are all like his guys. Like when Robert Kirkman makes a project, these are his go-tos. When he did The Mist, go watch The Mist, you know, when they're all in the supermarket locked in.
Such a good movie.
You're going to see a lot of familiar faces from
these characters die in the comic book, though.
I don't well, Andrea doesn't.
The one thing that I liked about the comic book, when I read the comic book, and it was one of the last things that I got, it was the whole fake phone thing. Rick carried around the phone in the comics.
Walkie-talkie?
It was a phone. Is it a walkie-talkie in the show? It was a phone, and the phone would ring, and he would pick it up, and it would be his wife. And he was kind of losing it. This is when he got to the
they did that once.
They went to the society. It was like a society, a gated community, can't have your guns. And then they ended up being the troublemakers. They had to go sneak their guns back because they wanted to be armed. They didn't trust people. It was after the governor. And anyways, Rick carried around this phone, and it would ring, and he would talk to his wife. And one time Carl came in, and Carl, like in the book, is like still 9, like he never got older. And he's looking at his dad. He's like, "What are you doing?" And his dad's like, "Okay, sometimes your mom calls me on this phone. And if you just, honestly, I know things are hard, but if you just listen, then you'll be able to hear her." And he like gives Carl the phone, and Carl takes the phone and listens for a second. He goes, "Oh my God, you're fucking crazy," and like drops his phone, leaves. And I was so excited because I remember like they give this little, Kirkman gives this spiel at the beginning. He's like, "There's no end to this comic. It will go. It's just going to continue. There is nothing. People will come. People will die." He goes, "Most importantly, people will change." And I remember the one thing that I was excited about then is I was like, "Yo, Carl is fucked up, bro. And he's going to keep getting fucked up." And like you had like those kids like in the prison in the comics, like that they killed someone and like cut him into pieces and shit. People were getting fucked up. And I thought that was very interesting. And I was like, oh, I wonder what they'll do with Carl when he's just like, "Rick, you're a pussy and you ain't cutting it. And we need to be harder." And I thought it would get to there, but you know, you can't do that on the show. Like things have to be milked appropriately. And I remember that's when I was like, oh, we'll never get this on the show. We'll never get this type of stuff.
Rick and Carl's relationship was the cornerstone of that show for me. And it's you're touching on it right there. It's the idea of Rick from the old world, and Carl, who's been being formed by this new world. Like that should have been the cornerstone of the show. And like whenever they try to make the show bigger than what fits inside of a room, I feel like they're failing. Like whenever because it always falls short of like my expectations. Whenever they try to have like 50 of us fighting 50 of them and we've got machine guns, it ends up doing exactly what Sons of Anarchy did. Sons of Anarchy is at its best when they're in a room, when they're in the confines of a room and they're having a discussion about what needs to happen next. And then the next thing you know, somebody's getting a knife jabbed in their back. Like
Game of Thrones. Like Varys and Littlefinger having a conversation was
amazing.
So much better than like the Dothraki riding into the darkness against.
Now, Game of Thrones
White
does a
Walkers.
really good job. Game of Thrones is one of those shows where they had the budget and the creativity to make the big shit cool. Like Battle of the Bastards. The fact that those were real horses like blows me away still. It's just such a beautiful fucking scene. It might be the best battle that's ever been put on camera. Like I like Braveheart. There's actually some scenes in the early part of Gladiator.
Braveheart
really
is
good.
crazy. I
If
watched
that was
Braveheart the other
scene
day.
where
It's
Jon
crazy.
Snow died, I would think Battle of the Bastards was the best scene ever.
They lost a lot of characters
Given
there.
him a valiant death.
Why would
That would be
Jon
so
Snow
cool.
die and then die in Battle of the... I don't even know why he died and then came back. Like I watched
Why
it
did he
again. I was
survive
like,
that
what the
battle?
fuck,
He
bro?
didn't he run into everyone solo because
Yeah,
they
he ran
shot his
first.
brother?
Yeah.
It's the thickest plot armor in cinematic.
No, the
history.
thickest plot armor is after that. It's one of the last episodes when Arya assassinates him. What's his, I don't guess no spoilers. And like Sam is on the ground surrounded by White Walkers, and John walks by and looks at him, and there's just so many people that are destined to die, and nobody dies. And I was like, what the hell? I thought this show was all about killing motherfuckers the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I never wanted Jon Snow to die. I just always assumed like he would live. But like if he died, I would have been like, okay, I'm not surprised. I just hate that whole show went on, and then like after like the Night King, it was like, well, bitches be crazy, and that's where they took the whole show. She just went crazy
because they killed
Fucking
Ned Stark in
dumb.
season 1. Like
That was great.
When
That
you were
was
like,
great.
what? That because the whole time Ned
Red
Stark
Wedding. Robb Stark hurt even more.
The whole time Ned Stark was in legal trouble in season 1, I just knew he'd be fine. Right? He's obviously the center of the show. There's no problem here. And they're talking about beheading him. And I'm like, yeah. And then when they chopped his head off, briefly, I'm like, how are they going to put that back on? Like, what?
We're going to need a wizard.
Obviously he's not going to die, but his head does just keep rolling downhill. And like,
it was crazy. That was a turning point for the show for me.
Yeah.
I was like, good. Because you don't want to be played for a fool. You want it to play out that way. I mean, I did. I like it. Like, I'll watch a show and if like someone gets killed that I cared about, I'm like, okay, now I'm listening. And Walking Dead did that in a huge way. And I know Kyle said it was budget related, but a lot of it's comic related too. Glenn didn't leave for budget. Glenn got killed in the comic.